it should turn video off.
It should be a little camera.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Turn video off.
So there should be a little button in the middle of your Skype screen at the bottom with a camera. Oh, there you go. You got it off.
Yeah.
All right. Now there should be an option there on the left, on the bottom on the left, if you kind of hover your mouse around, that gives you to share your screen with me. If you could click on that and then approve it. I think I asked you to verify.
Let's see. Sure. Oh, okay. Share screen. Well, I guess should be okay there. Stop sharing.
It looks like it's trying to load. All right. Perfect. I see it. All right. So, let's go ahead and you have some really good questions that you sent over for me. It sounds like you're kind of familiar with using scraping tools. So I think you probably get the basic gist of what it does.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So a couple things there. I just saw that you had the proxy scraper up. For what you're doing, you're not really going to need proxies, you know, when you're scraping things. Excuse me, you will only need proxies when you're scraping things, but you're going to need like private dedicated proxies for some of the engines. Now, not all of them. Some of them you don't need proxies for, but some of the engines you need really good proxies. And the free proxies that you scrape in the proxy module that you had up a minute ago, those are called public proxies. Yeah. And they're available to anybody. And lots of people use them, and they're not so reliable for certain things that you want to do. Yeah. So, all right.
I'm looking for something here to, let's see, I'm going to record this if that's okay.
I think you're already recorded here on Skype, it looks like.
Oh, okay. Okay. Then you need to get out of that. Never mind. I'll close that up. Okay. Okay.
All right. So if you can okay, cool. Now I can see the app. So we can start out by going through your questions here, but there's a few things that I would like to kind of explain. And obviously we are limited by our time here. You know, we only have an hour, a little bit over an hour to kind of go through things. Which, you know, I can't give you 8 years of experience and know-how in that time frame. So what I try to focus on is getting you up and running as quickly as possible for what you're trying to accomplish. And I can go through the questions that you have here one at a time. But first, I'd kind of like to understand a little bit about what your goal is with the tool. What are you trying to accomplish? Who are you targeting? What type of product are you promoting?
Okay, well, right now I have a couple of RSS blogs, and I'm feeding RSS feeds into them. Just that's my content is, you know, news, sports, entertainment, that kind of thing. Bicycles, I have a bicycle blog that, you know, for people that like to watch bicycle videos. And so that is what I'd like to do, is figure out a way of getting in contact with people that are in that business who, let's say, for instance, they have a press release. And so I want to get a hold of people, you know, use the contact form, get a hold of them and offer, you know, hey, I'll swap you a portion of your press release if I can use it for my content, you know, that type of thing.
Okay. Yeah, cool. So essentially you're looking for, you know, things, people on the internet with like blogs and different types of feeds on the topics that you're covering on your website. Yeah. And not so much brick and mortar stores.
No.
Okay. Well, a lot of times, you know, that's a unique way of using the software, what you're doing here, because you know, a lot of our customers, you know, they are targeting, you know, very specific business oriented niches, and one of the quickest ways of, you know, really targeting those types of businesses are to use the business directories, like the Yellow Pages or Yelp or Better Business Bureau, to get very targeted information on businesses that you can target that way. But with what you're doing, you're going to want to primarily use like traditional search engines, like the Yahoo and the Bing and the Googles
Yeah.
and those sorts of search engines. So now I understand why in your questions you were asking so much about footprints and how you use them.
Yeah.
So there's a couple things to understand first about these search engines that you'll be scraping. Number one, each one of these websites are their own business or their own website. They control how their website works. So when you're
Yeah.
trying to get data from them, you have to kind of understand the rules that that website has in place. For
Yeah.
example, Google's a pretty difficult search engine to scrape. It has a lot of anti-scraping protocols that it does. For example, it will throw up the reCAPTCHA if you access information too fast. That's the reason why you have to use long delays to scrape. And then they also monitor the IP address and how much data you're accessing. And so you have to use really good proxies that you can rotate through to get that information. And then, of course, you have to use the CAPTCHA solving service in order to solve the reCAPTCHAs that Google pulls up.
Yeah.
So it can be complicated for somebody that's just first starting out on scraping Google, whereas Yahoo and Bing are a little bit to scrape, and they're not as strict with people accessing information. So we can kind of start out. Google has, you know, probably the most diverse footprint or search engine operators that you can utilize in their in. That I think you were asking about if footprints and search strings and search operators are the same thing, and yeah, they are. They're essentially an extra command that you're giving to the search engine in order to filter the results that they show to you. For example, if you were looking for football blogs,
Yeah.
you could, you know, you could search just the word football blogs and pull those results. But then let's say you wanted to find football blogs that also have a contact page URL. You would
Yeah.
essentially use the same keyword, football blogs, and then you could try different footprint or search operator strings, like, for example, in URL contact.
Yeah.
That's, you know, there's lots of different footprints that you can use for this. And then what that will do is the search engine will then filter the results for your keyword with the results that have the word contact in their website URL structure somewhere. So that's kind of the basics of how it works.
Okay. I
Now,
think
I
I
know.
put in my information that I'm familiar with Scrapebox. And so I've been
Right.
using that for a while. And I've been looking at Paigham Bot for quite a long time, and you know, reviewed some of the videos that are online. But so
Mhm.
then I started building my blogs, and I guess my question is, if I want to, let's say,
Mhm.
for instance, I want to scrape contact pages and I want to use Yahoo,
Mhm.
what would be the footprint I would use?
Okay, so this goes into different ways of finding contact pages. So with Paigham Bot, you can use just regular keywords,
Uh-huh.
and then without using footprints at all. And then after the scrape happens, when it scrapes the results in Yahoo, for example, it will then go through those websites and look for potential contact pages.
Oh, okay. So when I
So
check the
what
box,
it will be doing is when you check what box.
Or the contact you page URLs box.
So in the choose data to collect, all those boxes there, that has to do whenever it's going through a contact form posting process. And that has to do with controlling what data it pulls from the websites. So that has nothing to do with like scraping the search engines.
Oh, okay. Well, that explains something.
Yeah.
Okay.
So now it will also, that also controls the same functions whenever you are harvesting data from websites. So for example, after you scrape a list, or if you load a list of websites into the application to scan, that will also control what information that it picks up during that scanning process there too. So there's two ways to do it and two ways to use it.
Oh, okay.
Does
So
that
it's,
make sense?
yeah, so you can, on the request or scanning side, you can use it, and on the posting side, you can use it.
Right, absolutely.
Okay.
So, what I like to do is and I personally do this myself whenever I'm, trying to figure out a campaign and the keywords that I want to use is I just go to that website for the search engine that I'm going to be trying to figure out the best keywords to use. So if you could actually pull Google Chrome up and go to search, you can
Okay.
probably pull it up on the VPS there. It's down at the bottom.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay.
And then if you go to
Yeah. Okay.
search.yahoo.com, that's what the bot is using whenever it's going through Yahoo.
Did you do that right? Yahoo. Oh, yahoo.com. Where am I? Okay. Okay.
All right. And so let's just put football blogs in there.
Okay.
All right, and go ahead and search that. So this is one way that you could get keywords and keyword ideas. But so in Paigham Bot, if you just added a keyword like, for example, football blogs, can you scroll down that page so we can see the results and how many pages it looks like will come with it?
Not too many.
So if you just put if you put just keywords in there, this is the results that the application is going to pull, is what you see here right in front of you. And then when it pulls those results, you can scan those results contact pages. And another way of finding websites with contact pages will be to use a footprint that's a contact form footprint. And there's multiple contact form footprints, but the most basic one would be in URL contact. So if you write that after your keyword, INURL, and then colon,
Yeah.
and then contact.
Oh, no quotes? No quotes?
You can do quotes or no quotes. I typically don't do quotes.
Oh, really?
Just
Okay.
because I want the broader results.
Okay. Okay,
And
I've got.
then obviously search it.
Oh, sir. Okay.
All right. So it looks like these are the results that Yahoo gives to us. And then can you scroll to the bottom so I can see how many pages that it has of results? So it goes back a little ways. So for example, if you wanted to scrape these, you could add a footprint in Paigham Bot. And I know was your third question. How do you add footprints to Paigham Bot? So let me show you how this works. Can you go back to the Paigham Bot application real quick?
Yeah.
If whenever you open Paigham Bot, fresh, the very first thing that you're going to want to do is you want to choose the search engine that you want to scrape. So in this case, we'll use Yahoo. Now we want to use footprints in this test. So what you would do is you would create a text file on your VPS desktop. So if you right click on your VPS desktop, you could choose new and text document.
Oh, check. Okay.
It's at the bottom there. Yeah. And then you could name that, hold on a second. Go out of those or click on more options. And then
Notepad?
Yeah, Notepad. Yes. All right. So I think that you didn't choose text document. You chose rich text document.
I did.
So
let me start over.
Yeah, you did.
Okay.
All right.
Done. New text doc. Oh, must have. Okay.
All right. And so anytime you're going to add a footprint, this is where you would do it. So if you want to add the N URL.
Look, there's something here that.
And then,
yeah.
And contact.
Okay. Oh, contact. Okay.
Now, I don't know. Let's go back to the Google Chrome browser again, because I noticed in that search bar you put a between the colon and the word contact. So let's go back to the browser there on Yahoo, and then let's take away that space and see if that affects the results that we see. So between the C and the colon, take that space away. Because
okay.
I've noticed on different footprints I've done that changed the results that I get.
Oh yeah, for sure. Okay.
So with this footprint, there was a lot more results when you had the space between the colon. But isn't that funny how this works? Is you change the space and the results changed here for you.
Yeah, because I only got 3
these are
pages.
different.
Yeah.
These are. Yeah.
Okay, let me bring it back up again. Oh, wrong way. Let's see.
It's okay. Let's so you definitely have more results with the space in between the C.
Yeah.
So, but let's play with another. Let's try instead of instead of in URL contact, let's do in text RSS.
In text. Okay.
Yeah.
And then RSS.
Yep. So you see how the results are changing though? You can do in text playoffs.
Okay.
And this is going to give you ideas of different ways on how you can use keyword prints. You're essentially telling the search engine to do is to find the keyword football blogs with the word playoff in the text of one of the pages.
Yeah.
So you can really fine tune, the results that you're getting. Do you get the general concept of this?
Yeah. Yeah. I understand that pretty well.
Okay, cool. All right, let's go back to the text file that you were creating there. And what you would do essentially is you would put however many footprints you wanted to try with whatever keyword in this document. You would put each footprint on a separate line. Then
Okay.
you would save the file. I would name it something that's related to the niche that you're targeting, and then put footprints. So you have that file saved under a certain name. So go
Okay.
ahead and create
Yeah.
one footprint here and
Okay.
save the file.
Okay. So we got football. Jeez.
No, remember that's the keyword.
Yeah.
That's
Oh.
the keyword.
Okay.
So you don't want to put the keywords in the footprint file.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Okay. So I just right now let's do in URL. Is that okay? Or
Yep. In URL
okay.
space contact. And then if you wanted to use another footprint, you would click enter, go down to the second line, and put another footprint. So the one in text.
Oh, right. Okay. Now, do these have to be in lowercase or does it matter?
I've always written them in lowercase, but I
Yeah.
don't know if it matters. We could
Oh.
go to the browser and see.
Oh, that's okay. I'll just say in text contact. Okay.
All right, and then since this is just a sample file, let's go ahead and save the file. So if you go to file, say save as, let's just name it sample footprint file. All right, go ahead and save that. And then go ahead and X out of it. And then you can minimize the browser and then pull Paigham Bot back up here. So just to kind of recap, here, whenever you open Paigham Bot fresh, you're going to choose your search engine. You've chosen yahoo.com. Then the next step that we're going to want to do is we're going to add that file that we just created, the footprint list. So yep, hit that green button that says add footprints, and then choose that file. I think it's on your desktop. Yeah. And if you actually start typing the name down there at the bottom under file name, it will pull up.
Oh, under file. Okay, I get started.
There you go. It's down there underneath. Yep. Cool. And then click OK. And then the next thing we're going to want to do is we're going to add the keyword that we want to use. So you could do this one of two ways. You could either manually enter it there where you just clicked on, or if you had a whole list of keywords you wanted to load, you could put those keywords in a text file, and then you could load that text file with that black button that says add keyword list.
Yeah.
Go ahead and just manually enter in a couple keywords here. And you don't have to click the green button. You can just, click enter. A lot of people don't know that. So
Oh, okay.
I'm really big about keyboard shortcuts. I used to work for this business, and when I got trained for them many, many years ago, they were very big on optimizing how fast you do things. So they were very strict about using keyboard shortcuts.
Yeah, I worked for Allstate Insurance about 30 years ago, and somebody in the company got an award for telling the company that they could use the word employee without two E's on the end. So they started using one E on the end of employee, and they figured they saved so much money by doing that that they gave guy $5 or something. I can't remember what it was.
Wow,
Okay.
that's funny.
Yeah. Okay. So we got
All
football,
right, and so
baseball.
then cool. So let's go ahead and deal with our throttle. So under the scrape settings there on the left, there's a checkbox that says throttle scrape. We want to pop open the timer, and the way that you do that is just you unclick it, uncheck it, and then you recheck it again.
Oh, okay.
And then the timer will pop up. So now the thing about this throttle and the search engine that you're using, every search engine is different. You know, Google requires a really long delay, like 30 to 180-second delay. So it will randomly choose a time. It'll look more natural, you know, for the search engine. Yahoo, it's not as strict. I typically use a delay of about uh, 6 to 9 seconds for Yahoo, and I use a similar one for Bing, and I use a similar one for AOL. Um, Now, with the business directories, if you're going to scrape them, you can go ahead and click OK. With the business directories, if you're going to scrape those, I use a little bit different of delays for those.
Okay.
Each one's a little bit different. So I know that you're recording this video, so I'm just going to tell you the delay times that I use for those. For the Yelp and Better Business Bureau ones, or excuse me, for the Yellow Pages and the Better Business Bureau ones, I use delays of about 7 to 12 seconds. Yelp is a little bit more strict than Yellow Pages or the BBB, and you need to have a little bit longer of a delay whenever you're scraping them, about a 15 to 30-second delay. And also with Yelp, you need to use like a VPN or good proxies. You need about one proxy for about every 400 results that you'll scrape that'll rotate through. So Yelp's kind of strict, but there's ways to get around it. So anyways, with this pop-up that just popped up for you, go ahead
Yeah.
and click yes. And then now we are ready to scrape. If you're going to use private proxies, now would be the time to add them.
Oh, okay.
With Yahoo, with scraping Yahoo, if you're going to do big scrapes of 10,000 or more, you're going to want about one proxy for about every 10,000 results that
Oh,
will
really?
rotate through.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's within a 24-hour period. So Yahoo will start kind of throttling your IP address after about 10,000 results. So if you scraped a little bit slower, like for example, if you used a higher delay time, you know, you could probably resolve some of that where you wouldn't need so many need proxies. But from my experience, a lot of people are always in a rush to get what they can as fast as they can, and they'd prefer to use proxies. But slow and steady will get you a lot farther without the extra cost of having to buy proxies too. So it's something that you'll have to consider and decide on your own.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool.
Okay.
So go
So,
ahead and click start, and then we're ready to go. So now what it's doing is it's just scraping the results that the search engine gives to us. Obviously, we can't control what results that it gives. And, you know, often there's, you know, links in there that may not be to the contact page, even if you did use a contact page footprint. So anytime that you scrape, this is what I'm about to tell you is pretty important. So keep note of this in your mind. Anytime that you scrape, you're going to want to always filter that list through a scanning process that looks for contact pages. So I will show you how to do that now. Let's
Okay,
pretend like your scrape is done. All right.
okay, so just stop
So
it.
let's open up. You can let it run, but
Oh,
you can make it. Yeah, you can make a report. Essentially, what we're going to want to do is when your scrape is done, you want to generate a report. So go ahead and open up that report drop down button. And I'm going to go through a few of these reports with you so you real quick so you understand what they are for. I know one of your questions had to do with the complete report. So I want to just kind of cover this real quick. So the first two reports, the export successful links and export unsuccessful links, those are going to be reports that you generate after a posting campaign. And those are going to be your successfully submitted and your unsuccessfully submitted that you can make files on. The third option, export unsuccessful, or excuse me, export contact pages. That is going to be a report that you will generate either after you've scanned your web list for potential contact pages, or you've ran it through the filtering process that I'm going to show you here in a minute. And then we'll come back to that report. So the fourth report, export contact pages with domain name, kind of goes along with the report above it. It's just a different report that will be a CSV file, and it will have the base domain name and then the contact page name in its own column. The fifth report and sixth report, the export scraped URLs, that's the report. One of those reports, you can choose which one you want to use. I personally use the one that says export scraped URLs root. That way it trims any of the extra URL extensions, because I'm going to filter my list anyway, looking for potential contact pages. So I don't really need those extensions on the links that were given. But if you prefer to have the full URL that you scraped with the extension to it, then you would choose the first option that says export scraped URLs.
okay,
And the other reports below that, the Twitter links, Facebook links, those are reports that you can either generate if you've harvested a list of websites and you're just scanning them for data, or you can generate those after a contact form posting campaign. So those are the only times those reports will generate. The bottom report that says complete report, now that report only generates after a contact form posting campaign. So if you are doing any other process and you try to generate that report, nothing will generate, because that report is only after a contact form posting campaign. Now, all of the business directories, they have their own reports. So if you're scanning or scraping yellow pages, for example, you are going to generate the report that has yellow pages in it. And the report that you're going to want to generate is going to be the report that says full report. So yellow pages full report, or Yelp full report, or BBB full report. And that's going to have all of the data that it's harvested from that business directory. So for example, when you're searching or scraping Yahoo, you're only getting the links that the search engine shows. In the business directories, you're also getting not just their business name and stuff like that, but you're getting any information they have listed in that business directory, like their address or phone number or website, etc. So that's the difference there. All right. So now that I've explained the reports, before I move on, do you have any questions about that?
No, the complete report one was the only one I think that I had that I was just confused on.
Okay, cool. All right, so let's pretend like your scrape is done. Obviously, it's not. It's still going strong. It's still scraping results. But let's pretend like it is. So the report that we're going to want to generate is going to be the one that says export scraped URLs. I personally do the one that says root,
Okay,
the one right below it. Yep. All right, go ahead and choose that and click generate. And then you can name the file anything you want. You might want to name this one sample URL list or something like that.
Do we want to look at it?
We don't really need to. It's just going to be a
Okay.
list of the websites we just scraped.
Okay.
All right. So go ahead and click no on that. So now one thing that's going to be really important to your posting campaign, especially since you're going to be scraping websites out of a search engine, and it's going to be really bloggy type of sites. And you're going to have some of these sites that are going to show up multiple times, you know, on different scrapes that you're doing, because they may have different pages for different types of topics that you're targeting or something. So a blacklist is going to be really crucial to you. And that blacklist is going to essentially contain all the websites in there that you don't want to recontact. You've already contacted them. But I want to start you from the very beginning. Typically, you don't obviously need a blacklist for the very first time you're loading a list, but I want you to learn how to do that. So I'm going to have you create a blacklist, and just assume that every time that you're going to filter your website list that you scraped, that you're always going to use a blacklist. So the first thing we want to do is we want to restart the app now, because we're going to run a different process through it. So if you can click the reset app button.
Okay.
And it'll restart here in a second.
Where are you located?
I'm in the foothills of the Cascades up here in the Pacific Northwest. Where are you at?
Same place. I'm
Oh,
over on the
really?
Olympic Peninsula. Yeah.
Oh, nice, nice. Yeah, I'm way down south, but I definitely I've been meaning to go up there and do a backpacking trip through the forest there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
So anyways, we've scraped our list, we saved that file. Now what we want to do is we want to filter that file for contact pages. Now, the first thing we're going to want to do, though, is we want to create our blacklist. So on your remote desktop, if you can right click and then create new text document. I would name this master blacklist. All right. And then typically after you get done running a contact form posting campaign, you would export out your successful link file, and then you would open that successful link file, you would copy those links, and you would paste them in this master blacklist file. Okay, so every time you get done with a posting campaign, create the successful link file, open that file, copy that whole file, and then open this master blacklist and then paste that list into this file. So this is going to accumulate new websites every time you run a posting campaign. Let's go ahead and just add a couple on here that we know types of websites we know we're not going to want to post to. You can add like google.com. You could add maybe .api, because we don't want to post to any API processes. Maybe also add like yellowpages.com. And this, I'm just really having you write these for an example,
Yeah.
so you understand how this works. So, and plus it's good not to post to those websites anyway. All right, so go ahead and X out of this and save the file. And then now what we want to do is whenever we're going to scan our list, we're always going to run a blacklist through this whenever we're filtering a brand new scraped list. And when we do that, we want to, the very first thing that we want to do is we want to put our blacklist in here. So under the universal settings in the middle of the app, click add blacklist and then choose that master blacklist file we just created.
Oh, it's on the desktop. Sorry.
That's all right. And don't forget, you can type in the name and the file name thing, and it'll.
Never do that.
It saves a lot of time. It really does.
Yeah, I've seen a couple of people do it, but it never dawned on me. Okay.
All right. So now the next thing we want to do is we want to add that file to scan. So we want to choose in the scraping module on the left, the black button that says add URL list.
Okay, but I need to okay that.
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. And then, okay.
So the one that says add URL list, not the one that says keyword. All right, so now there's going to be these options here for us. So when you're doing this process, some people get confused about which thing to choose. So I want to explain a little bit. The scan URLs against whois is obvious what it is. It's going to scan it against the whois.com database and give you that information. The search compare contact pages to blacklist is actually the option that you're always going to want to use anytime you have a new list that you're going to filter and you want to look for potential contact pages. So that's the second option from the top is the option we want to select. And what it's going to do is that option is going to go through that web list that we just scraped from Yahoo, and it's going to look for potential contact pages, and it's going to compare the link to the blacklist and remove any sites that are in the blacklist. Now, the third option from the top that says post to URL directly, no blacklist, that option you will use on a list that you've already filtered. So if you have like a list of contact pages after we've ran the process we're about to run that have already been filtered, that's the option that you're going to select. So you don't have to rescan the list or anything like that. It'll just, you'll upload the list and you will go directly to posting to it. The fourth option, all the way at the bottom, the harvest data from URL, that's the option you're going to select. If you don't care about actually posting the websites, you don't plan on posting the websites, you just want to get the data from the website link, that's the option that you'll choose. Does all that make sense?
Yep.
All right, cool. You have the right option selected. Go ahead and click OK. It's going to have you choose the file of the websites. I think we named it sample something.
Yeah.
You can probably type the name there in the bottom. Nope, that's the footprint. Hold on.
We want master.
No, we don't want the master. We want the website list that we created. Where did you save that somewhere else?
Yeah, I think I did. I saved that. Well, it should be right here. Oh, sample URL. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Okay.
All right. There we go. And then I typically, you don't have a whole lot of websites in there. I typically use 10 threads or so whenever I'm just scanning through the list. Some people like to use more. Just know that, you know, the more threads that you use, you're utilizing more of the CPU on the machine, the RAM on the machine. So I don't like to overwork the machine. I've been using the same VPS for almost 5 years now because I take good care of it. I keep it clean and optimized, and I don't overuse it. So I would always recommend doing, you know, what I do, but you could use more threads if you want. But if you want to go ahead and type 10 in there, and then it'll start scanning through that list.
Make sure it's right.
All right, so go ahead and click OK. And now what it's doing is going through that list, URL by URL, and it's looking for potential contact pages. You'll see there on the right, where under the info box, where it says contact pages found, and then on the bottom there's bot progress. So you loaded 381 websites. It's currently ticking up to 120 that it's processed so far. It's found 100 website potential contact pages. Now I want to explain how this process actually works so you understand the mechanics of it. It doesn't actually know at this point if there's an actual form on that contact page. It could just be a link that has the word contact in it, a link that has the word about in it, or support. And you can actually control what it looks for in website links. So you could use this in other ways as well. So in the scraping module, if you look over there, there's a link above the add footprint button that says identification of contact pages. Can you click on that link real quick?
Oh, wait, say that again. Oh, right there. Okay.
Yep. So this is controlling what the process that we're running behind it is doing. So you can modify this. You can change it. Let's say you're targeting maybe contact forms in a different language and you wanted it to look for, you know, contacto instead of contact.
Yeah.
Or maybe you want to target certain web structures on certain types of websites like blogs. You want ones that have a certain web structure. Maybe you've identified a good way to target the websites. You could add the words in that structure into this part, and the bot will look for those pages and add them for.
Like on WordPress, they have contact form 7 or something like that, that
Yeah.
has a given format that if you went to any web blog or website that had used contact form 7, they all look alike.
Well, they do, but people can control the web structure of those, and a lot of people use the word contact. But you could add more here. You can add as many as you want here, and it will look for more diverse things. So that's essentially the nuts and bolts of this process of what's happening. Is you're scanning it against these keywords that are in this setting here, which you can modify, and then whenever it identifies one, it pulls it in. All right, so go ahead and close this pop-up. Now we're done scanning our list. I think it might have one more to pop up. No, actually, I think the completed thing is underneath. If you look at the app in the taskbar at the bottom, there's a pop-up that popped up. It's behind it. The app icon in the taskbar at the bottom of your screen.
No.
Yeah, if you take your in the taskbar on your VPS.
Oh, down here.
Yeah. Okay. There's the OK. It popped up. Go ahead and go click OK on scraping completed. That was just behind the bot.
Oh. Okay.
For a second.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Yeah.
So under bot progress, you see 381 over 381. So it's processed all the websites in that link, and it's found a potential amount of 310 potential contact pages. Now, at this point, there's two things that you could do. The first thing that you could do is maybe you're not ready to actually post to the websites yet. You just want to build up big web lists, okay? So what we could do is we could save these contact pages right now. And that, if you open up the generate report tab, specific report options, that would be the first report, or excuse me, the third report from the top, the one that says export contact pages. This is when you would use that report. So if you did not want to actually go and post to these websites at this point, this is what you would do is you would choose that report and generate it and just save it. And then if you came back later and wanted to post to this list that you just scanned for contact pages, you would open up the bot, click the add URL list, and instead of choosing the option that says search compare contact pages, you could just go straight to post to URL directly option, because this list has now been filtered for potential contact pages, and it's been filtered against our blacklist. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah.
All right, cool. All right, so now let's say we do want to post to these websites right now. We don't need to save the list, but we want to post to the websites. What we would do now is we would go to the posting tab. You'll find that right next to the start button for the scraping tab.
Yeah.
And you go ahead and click on that and open up that tab. And so this is obviously the main reason that people get Paigham Bot, is the contact form posting process that it does. What kind of makes this unique is the the ability for you to customize your posting, and for it to actually learn and post to different types of forms and form fields. So you can see in the posting settings there on the left, there's a few different check boxes, and I want to go over the most important ones with you. So there's two types of posters in Paigham Bot. One is the HTTP poster. That is the option that is by default selected whenever you go to that tab. That is the fastest posting process that you can utilize. So if you have a big list, you want to really go through it really fast with, multiple threads as you're processing and posting to them, that's the option you're always going to want to run first. Now, there are certain types of forms that the HTTP protocol can't post to. For example, a couple examples are if a web page requires a cookie to be in your browser, the HTTP process won't be able to access that page, because obviously it doesn't know what the cookie is that's being installed. Another type of form, that it can't really post to is an iframe form, because it is, again, an iframe is not actually located on the website. It can't read the code on that page. So the other type of poster is a browser poster, and you will see two options there in the check boxes, the fourth and fifth options down. The auto post to IE browser beta. The browser poster is going to be more accurate than the HTTP process, because it's actually opening up the browser and going to that web page. It's not just a web protocol running. It's actually manually going to that page and filling out the contact form. So you will notice a difference. Let's say we ran through these 300 sites and maybe it only posted to 60 or 70 through the HTTP process. The browser poster will increase that rate just naturally by about 25 to 30%. So just with the default settings. Now if you're using CAPTCHA solving, like death by CAPTCHA, for example, and you add your credentials to the app and CAPTCHAs are getting filled out, you're going to notice a little bit higher of a success ratio, about 15% by using death by CAPTCHA. So different things that you're doing can affect your posting success rate. Now, I want to show you the nuts and bolts of this posting process and the way that it works, because I really believe understanding the mechanisms and what it's doing will help you uh, be more efficient at running successful campaigns. So in the middle of the app under Universal Settings, there's an orange button on the right that says Form Tag Module. If you can click that. And then when this pops up, if you can just move that whole pop-up over by about an inch or so. All right, so as you can see, with the main app that's in the background of the pop-up, the different info fields like name, email, phone number, subject line, message body, and you'll see these same things in the pop-up with their own little columns of data strings. This is how Paigham Bot knows to post to different forms. A common question that we get a lot is, what platforms can Paigham Bot post to? It can post to any platform because it doesn't work on a platform basis. It works on a name tag recognition basis. And so as long as there is a tag by on that web page under one of these sections, it will post that information for you. So for example, in the column that says name, the very first thing says input_1. When it goes to a web page to post and it identifies that string right there, input_1, it knows to insert your name information into the field right there. So that's how it works. Now you can collect form tags during your posting process, which it looks like you've already played with the posting process a little bit, because on the right of this pop-up in that big rectangle there, you have different inputs that have been collected. And essentially, as you're running through the posting process, you can map out at a later time these tag names that you've collected, and you can make the bot get smarter so it knows to post to different form fields on different websites. So you can make this thing, pretty badass as far as its posting success rate. If you're ever using the browser poster, you'll notice, because you can actually visually watch the browser poster, and you'll notice like sometimes it'll go to a web page and then one of the form fields is filled out and maybe the other ones aren't. Anytime a form field is not filled out, that's directly because that form tag for that form field on that website is not mapped out in this pop-up in a section. So it doesn't know to post any information there. But luckily, it will collect that tag name there on the right, and then you can later come back and essentially map those out and repost to failed forms that you've done. Now, this is a little bit more of an advanced process. I don't want to go too deep into it. There's a video link in this pop-up in the bottom left there that you can watch at a later time that will kind of explain how it works. The UI in the video is of an older version of Paigham Bot, but it's still close enough to what you see here that you should get the gist of how it's working. You'll notice that there's wildcard boxes underneath that are empty. You can create new, essentially, let's say, you wanted to deal with any web form that asked you your address. You could create a whole section just for addresses, or maybe a website asks you what your website URL is. You could use like wildcard 2 or 3 or something, or create a whole section for that, and you would pull over any form tag names that were asking for that information. And then in the bottom of this pop-up, in the middle of it, where it says wildcard settings, that's where you would put the information that you would want injected for whatever section that you created. Does all of that make sense?
I think so. I do have one question though. Let's see, up at the top of it says of the add to list, it says input_1.3. how do I know
Mhm.
where to put that? Is it because it's
So, okay, so that I mean that's where these difficult questions can come in is some, sometimes you have to track down the website,
uh-huh.
you know, to put that information in. What I do is because if you scroll through that list, you're going to see, can you actually scroll through that list there? You're going to see some of the values where it's easy to identify, like it'll have the word email in it, or it looks like, I don't know exactly what type of list that you're running through there,
I ha
but
I haven't put anything on here that I know of. I haven't run any posting. I know that.
right, you might have done scanning of web pages, but you can see, like, hold on a second, you just passed some that said like phone number and things like that.
Yeah.
So you have to remember that if you're on a web page that doesn't actually contain a contact form on it, sometimes they have other tag names that they pull over, that's not related to anything. That can happen too. But what I do with any of the tag forms that I cannot identify is I just create one wildcard section and I'll put them all in that one section. And then I'll just, either use an email that I have injected for that section, or I'll use like a website URL that I have injected for that section. So you have to keep in mind that there's 600 billion different websites out there. So
Yeah.
it's not possible to have, every combination perfect for all 600 million or 600 billion out there. But, as long as we can make it through and trudge through most websites, that's what it's really about.
Okay. Yep.
All right, so just a couple things to note real quick. If you're going to use the form tag module, you'll notice a button there in the middle under other settings, to enable form tag posting or wildcard posting. That needs to always be checked if you intend to use that. There's other settings there, so you can manage like drop-down menus on contact forms. You can manage like check boxes, like if the contact form has check boxes. There's settings for you to use. Now, do keep in mind, this is one of those damned if you do, damned if you don't situations where, some websites might have like anti-spam processes in it where they'll have a hidden box where it says, if you're a bot, check this box. If you had the setting set where it checks boxes, then obviously if that website, if you could pause that video, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah.
It's coming
Yeah.
through my
So,
headphone.
yeah.
Um,
Okay.
so it's one of those things that if you use the checkbox, some websites might mark you as spam, but then again, there's a lot of websites that don't have that anti-spam protocol on there too that have checkboxes. So it's kind of, you got to kind of choose what risk you want to take with what you're doing. It's, just one of those things. So anyways, go ahead and close this pop-up. And I'll just kind of wrap this up just to tell you my process here of what I do, and then we can go over any questions that you have. So typically what I would do is I would enter my information. I would enter my information there that I want posted. I would save. Oh, excuse me there. I would save my setup. So if I'm going to run multiple campaigns with pretty much the same information, I would save the setup. It's an orange button there that
Yeah.
says Save Setup. So the next time that I go into post, I can just load the setup and it will already have the information posted. But anyways, um, I would enter my information that I want to have posted to the form fields. I would run my list through the HTTP poster first. When that list gets done running, I would then export out my successful link report. I would open that report up. I would copy that list of websites that I've successfully posted to, and I would add that to my master blacklist file. Then I would also export out my unsuccessful links. and then I would run reopen Paigham Bot fresh. I would load it into the app using the option when you upload URLs that says post directly to URLs, and then I would go to the poster and enter my information or load my information, and then I would check the box that says auto post IE browser, because now I'm going to run that list through my browser poster, and I'm going to watch my success rate increase a ton from that process.
Okay.
Now, that's the way I do it. And I actually go a step further. After the browser poster, I'll save that list of faileds again. And then I will build up like a master fail list. And then when I reach a point where I've ran out of new sites that I've scraped and I'm ready to go through my master fail list, I then open up my form tag module. That's when I map everything out. And then I go back and rerun my second failed list, like the master failed list, through it again and try to get as many sites as I can through that. So does that make sense for you?
Yeah. Now, where do I download those lists that you referred to?
Like you use the report section.
Oh, okay. So
it says, yeah, export successful links and export unsuccessful links.
Oh, okay. Okay. Oh, right on the top. Oh, okay. Okay, so you download the successful links and then you rerun the download of the unsuccessful links in the
Correct.
browser. Excuse me. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, well, I can
All
go
right.
back to this recording and figure that out.
Okay, cool. I think just to cover a couple of the questions you had in there real quick, just to kind of go over it. I think I've showed a lot. You asked about, is there a footprint for Instagram? So you received one of the things that you received with your package was a definitive keyword and footprint list file, which is pretty big. And there's a footprint list in there. There's multiple footprint lists in there, but I think there's one that's called like master footprint list or something like that. And that's going to have a ton of different variations of footprints that you can run. Yeah, I mean, you could use things like, for example, in text Instagram or something like that. But the thing is the footprints are primarily for when you're scraping like Google or Yahoo or Bing or something like that. If you're scraping, and you don't really need to do that footprint for Instagram, because the application will, when it goes to that website during the posting process, it will pull over any links it finds to Instagram. Does that make sense?
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah.
All right. So then I think your next one is about LinkedIn scraping LinkedIn members. Unfortunately, the bot does not scrape LinkedIn.
Okay.
So that's a no. Now, I do believe it pulls links to, if they have a link on their website, it does have a process it will pull that link to LinkedIn that they have posted on their website contact page.
Oh, okay. So like they have that bar. This is Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest,
Mm-hmm.
and so they would pull that information off of the website if it was there.
Right.
Oh,
so
okay.
Now your next question, really the access to the marketing lead domination course.
Yeah.
So that was actually a bonus that was done for a promotion last year, and we just are we're just kind of giving away the extras to it. But that course belongs to Yaya Pape, and I would suggest contacting him, because I think he changed some things on what he was doing there. So I think that if you contact him, he'll point you in the right direction.
That was,
as far as
I was trying to locate his name online there. That's why I was running the video. I was trying to remember what his handle was.
Right. That wasn't actually our course itself. That was his course as an affiliate of ours.
Okay. Oh,
so Now can you post to auto-approve comment blogs with Paigham Bot? Yes, you can do this, but this is what you have to do. You have to go and figure out what the form tag names are on those web pages. So maybe if you went to a few of those blogs, I'd probably go through like maybe 20 or 30 blogs and check them out because there might be a variation of what people use, and then pull the form tag name for the blog or for that page for the form field that you want to fill out. So if they have a comment field, you want to find out what that form tag name is.
Okay, so you go to the source code to find that?
Right.
Okay.
Right. Now, you need to be careful of what you're scraping here. If you have like a blog page with comments, you're going to want to target specific type of URL structures for the blog pages when you're scraping. And you're not going to want to run that list through the process that looks for contact pages. You're just going to want to go to the post to URL directly option and load that list, because you want to post to that list where there's like a blog post.
Yeah. I know they're two separate
Right.
functions.
So now your question about the Paigham Bot mail server, on the website, we offer a bulletproof email server. It comes with 30 IP addresses. It's for it's for bulk emailing. You know, if you are like sending out, hundreds of thousands of emails every day, this is a type of server you're going to get, because with email marketing, none of the email providers out there are going to allow you to really email out scraped email lists and things like that. You have to really have kind of like a bulletproof email provider. We do offer that service. It's $250 a month. It comes with 30 IP addresses that you can use. We'll configure up to 8 domains for you. If you can use one, or you can use as many domains as you actually want to on it. But after 8 domains, we do have a fee for configuration. One of the downsides of the email server is it does need warmed up. It's not something that you're just going to get today and you're going to start emailing 500,000 people tonight. There's a warm-up process to it. We provide you instructions for the warm-up and all of that. And then if you wanted to use that in Paigham Bot, the email server, you'll have SMTP credentials. You can just plug into the email module in Paigham Bot and then use that module for your actual sending software. I think I covered the question on the complete reports for you. It just comes out after a posting campaign. And then your last question was, what does the message and the attached image in the scraping log mean? I've seen it several times when I've scraped. What was the image? I'm not on the email that shows the image.
Let's see if I can bring it up here. I thought I saved that. Where's the image? Images. Yeah, it was.
So while you're looking for that image.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So while you're looking for that, the log is just generally recording, the processes that happen. I wouldn't pay a whole lot of attention to it. It's not going to tell you as a user a whole lot. A lot of the errors that you'll see is like sometimes if the bot's trying to go to a web page, it'll bring back like a server error. And that's not a server error of the bot. That's a server error of that web page. Like it didn't open and there was an error. Or if there's no contact form on the page, or if it's like some type of PDF document. If you really want to get a handle on what's happening to your website list, the best way is to use the browser poster, because you can visually see what's happening on the contact form. You can scroll, the page and actually visually look at it. And there's primarily 3 reasons a web submission fails. The number one reason being is that one of the form tags names isn't mapped in the database, so it doesn't know to post to somewhere, and the form field was required. The second reason would number two reason would be a CAPTCHA wasn't solved. And the third reason, and actually this is the top reason, the web page doesn't actually have a form on it. It's just a contact page with information, for example.
Oh,
So
okay.
if there's no form, there's no
Yeah.
way it can post to anything.
Yeah.
So, you know, often we'll get somebody that will email in and say, hey, I loaded a list of 1,000 websites and it only posted to 175. You know, what's going on? That's a low posting success rate. And our very first response is, you know, well, out of those 1,000 websites, how many actually had web contact forms on them?
Yeah.
And did you run it through the browser poster? Did you collect the form tags? Did you map the form tags out? Are you using CAPTCHA solving? Because all these things will help increase your success rate.
Okay,
So,
there's
yeah, the error. Yeah, I'm seeing it. It says add in URL. Or at the top.
Yeah, right at the top.
It seems like that probably relates to maybe you pushed a button or something that would have contradicted the process that was already running. That's kind of what I'm getting on that. Yeah.
Okay.
Like it was running a process and you clicked a button and it's telling you that you did an illegal call, which is essentially saying that the process can't run because you're already doing something.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, because see, what has happened is I was doing some experimenting on it, and then either I did something, probably the way you're explaining it, and so this popped up because whatever I did stopped the entire process and said we can't do anything more.
Yeah. I mean, generally, you know, I just recommend, you know, when you're running a process, just don't fiddle with the settings once it's running, because, you know, I've had people mess with settings and they don't understand what they've done and then they mess something up and it's not running. If it's running a process, let it run a process. If you need to stop that process, you can click the stop button. A lot of people, you know, it doesn't immediately stop right when you push the stop button, and you know, I've had people that just sit there, keep clicking stop button, for example, and then you know, they see an error. Well, it takes it a few seconds to actually, because it's running multiple threads.
Yeah,
it takes it a few seconds to stop the.
Yeah, until the thread's clear, it's still running.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, Dwight.
I
have another consult here in a few minutes.
Okay.
Did you have any questions before I get off here?
Yeah, the posting log. The only time that thing clears, right, up at the top, is you either have to press the what do they call it, reset the app, because there's no way of deleting all that information.
Right. So anytime that you're done running a process and you want to run a new process, I would just recommend resetting the app.
Oh, okay.
Until you become more familiar with the app and what you can do and can't do, you know, because sometimes people try to do different things that just don't jive together with the processes that are running. You can actually scrape and post at the same time.
Yeah.
So those modules will run independently of each other as well. But if you're trying to do, I just recommend anytime you're starting a new process, especially when it involves scraping, to just reset the app, because a lot of the settings that you do locks to the process that you start.
Right. Okay. Sounds good.
All right, Dwight.
Okay.
Well, hey, I know that you recorded this Skype meeting. I just wanted to ask you, because it will, when you record in Skype, it does show in the Skype chat between us. Do you have any problems with me sharing this training video with other people?
No, no, that's fine.
Okay, cool. All right, Dwight. Well,
Okay.
hey, it was awesome. Awesome consultation there, and you do have me on Skype, so if you have
Yeah.
any questions that you think of afterwards, or if you run into a roadblock on something, feel free to ping me and I'll help you get through it, okay?
Okay, good enough. Thanks.
Hey, you're welcome. Bye
Yeah.
bye.
Bye.